Yes, guys, welcome to Chasing Green Arrows. We are back. It's been a while. We are reviewing game week 21. We've got Big Man Backer joining us later. We're going to see all of our teams, see the points we got, and as always, look ahead to the next game week. But I'm joined by regular co-host, Mr. Dean Jones. Dean, I'm a bit flustered, mate, because I've just posted the wrong link on Twitter for the show. So as you say your intros, I'm going to be changing my tweet.
It's funny because I was actually just about to tweet, and I was tweeting the link to this. So if people clicked on it, they were going to be coming into like the green room to be on the show. So I'm going to do the same any second. So we'll hopefully get an influx of people once we've both figured out how to tweet. Like we're new to all this, but yeah, I'll deal with that in a second too. I'm good. I didn't see I went to a concert last night. I've been to a concert gig in a long time. I went to the O2 to see a band called Depeche Mode, which was a lot of fun. I was in a box, which was very, very fancy. Yeah, very. And to be honest, the only way to really do things these days, I've discovered. So I enjoyed that, but it did mean I missed the Brighton game. I don't think I missed too much, just from what I've seen since. But in general, the longest ever game week in history seems to be now behind us, and overall I think Big Man's just had an absolute disaster. Seems his laptop's just fallen off or something. He just crashed to the ground. This is not going well so far. But yeah, my points for the week ended up on 59, which was above average. It's not great, but it's actually a green arrow. So yeah, so I had dropped. I mean, I'm 600,000 now overall, which is a drop down from where I was a couple of weeks ago. But it wasn't a great week, so I'm actually kind of relieved more than anything. I think is probably the best description. Gabrielle dug me out, and fortunately for me, Gordon got to come off my bench. He was on the bench for 7, and then Baldock didn't play, so he jumped on. So yeah, 59 points at the end, mate, and I was kind of just happy to take that.
We might have to talk about Gordon a little bit later because he's got a good run of games and he's ticking up. I mean, this was against Man City, the game in which managers were happy to bench him. But it goes to show, like, doesn't matter what fixture they've got, players like Gordon should probably be in your 11. Like, and again, like, it's good to sample it and see, you know, Dean went Baldock, home fixture, clean sheet, felt fairly likely, but it's Gordon that outperforms him. So yeah, we'll discuss Gordon and maybe Newcastle a bit later. The boys are falling apart, FPL Chai. It looked like there was a bit of a crack. There was crash bang wallop. I'm sure it looked like a cracked bit of glass.
Was it cracked glass? I wasn't sure if it was a crack on the floor.
Hi guys.
Oh, here he is. He's all right.
Yeah, my webcam fell off.
Oh, it was a webcam, not the actual cam for the laptop. That's all right.
It was a webcam.
That moment.
Thankfully, it's arrived. But I mean, Johnny tweeted the wrong link. My webcam fell off the laptop. I mean, clearly we've been rusty.
Yeah, definitely rusty. Dear. How was your game week, big man? We're going to see our teams later. But top line, did you have a green? You've got Gabriel and Saliba in your 11, right? So I'm guessing you had a green arrow.
Yes, it was a healthy green arrow. I had 68 points and I moved up to 106k from 142k, which was a healthy enough green arrow. So I'm happy with how the game week went. I mean, it was much better before the Darwin and the Stupinan hauls, but I will take it because my friend Johnny did well. So I guess I like him smiling on the show.
Yeah, and I do tend to only smile off the back of a green arrow. So fortunately, we've had a few of them recently. Yeah, I'm buzzing. I'm in the top 50k, the dizzy heights of the top 50k. Good to see friend of the show, FPL Chai. I think it's world number 10, 11 at the moment. Didn't have the best of game weeks, but still keeping up the pace there. And if you did watch the strategy show with Chai, then thank you for tuning into that and go back and watch it. We recorded that last Friday. Some new faces in the chat as well. Get your questions in. We'll answer some questions. Pete said, "Big man's been taken." Imagine FPL taken.
It did look a bit like that. It did look like even kidnapped or something, attacked in his own home. Yeah, mate. Obviously, I mean, I'm not a Liverpool fan by any stretch of the imagination.
Let's talk Liverpool. Go on.
I was relieved for it. I mean, those goals were coming. They've been coming for weeks. And they've arrived. I mean, I'm not that. Obviously, I'm going to watch Fulham play Liverpool tomorrow, so I'm not particularly pleased about this arrival of goals from him. But him and Jota
the Slotter.
Jota, mate, like what a player! Like, I think he's the one I want.
I think he would be. I'd still go Jota over Darwin just. But Dean, we did the bonus show the other day, and you said about how close it can be. Well, going into the last minute of that football game, Darwin and Jota were tied on 3 bonus points each, which means they both get 3 bonus points.
Okay.
They're both on 55 EPS. And then Darwin, typical Darwin, goes and commits a foul. So not only do you get minus BPS for the foul, he also gets a yellow card. So that was effectively a -2 yellow card. He goes down to 2 in the bonus points. So
I was buzzing.
Yeah, you must have, like me, big man. Do you watch the BPS live in game and check as I was?
Yes, I do. I do.
So you knew that foul straight away.
Every
He was
now
going
and
to
then.
lose 3 bonus.
Yes, exactly. And I sold Darwin for Alvarez 2 weeks ago in what was a transfer which has backfired spectacularly, because not only has the swing, it was a 9-point swing this week because Alvarez blanked and Darwin got 11-pointer. But in the previous week, in game week 20, what it meant was that I captained Alvarez for his 7-pointer, which was fine. But in that week, Salah smashed Newcastle, and Darwin also got a few points. So I was calculating, and I'm around 20 points down on that man move alone, which made some sense on paper, but it has backfired spectacularly. And I'm not even sure. I'm just praying I get 1 week more out of Alvarez now. But it's a move which looks terrible on paper. But it's all right. I mean, at that time, it made sense. It was just bad variance going my way here.
I think it was. Okay, so let's talk Liverpool assets, and then we'll talk Man City assets, and then we'll have a look at our teams and some bonus briefs from the weekend. So Liverpool, first and foremost, the update on Salah, Dean, doesn't look great, does it? Like originally we're thinking a couple of weeks, now 21 to 28 days. So he could, I think 28 days is around the time just before we would get a double game week 25 if Liverpool get to the Carabao Cup final. So what do we do with Salah, guys? Like, what are you both thinking? Dean, I'll come to you first.
To be honest, mate, I think it kind of does us a favour because it takes one of the premiums out of the thinking, and we know we're not losing points. Like, I just think you can just put him on the back burner for a while, and just kind of the biggest decision will be which Liverpool asset you decide to take over the period of the next month now, because that could really define your rank as much as Salah would have in the first place. I think Salah hasn't been he's been decent from an FPL point of view for sure, but we're not watching peak Salah this season, are we? So if you can nail it with your Jota or your Darwin pick, whichever you want to go for your Liverpool goals, then that's going to influence your season definitely as clearly as it would have done whether you had Salah or not. But I don't think, Salah is a big need. I guess someone FPL Freddy says Trent as well. Yeah, I should probably throw Trent into the conversation. I mean, how would you rank Liverpool assets right now in terms of must need? I guess that's probably the best way to look at it. And is Trent number one, or would Jota be number one?
Good question, big man. What's your take on those 3 Liverpool players, as well as what to do with Salah? Because it's a real dilemma for many. I'm still not sold on the idea of selling him, but I don't own Trent. Where are you at?
I think it's becoming more of a sell day by day, and I think a lot of people who held on to him in the hope that he'll be back by game week 24 will sort of now be resigned to losing him. I mean, you can't really keep a 12.5, 13 million asset on the bench if he's not likely to play in the weeks to come. I mean, this is irrespective of what we think about KDB. I mean, I'm assuming that KDB won't be fine to play this weekend, but let's assume KDB is an option. Then what's the point in waiting on Salah? Because hamstring injuries, I mean, they take a while to cure. I highly doubt that Salah will be back by game week 24. If I was to guess before the deadline, and at this point in time, I don't think he'll be back. And when there are so many other options, tempting options like Richarlison, Jota, Foden, what's the point in holding? There's a chance he might not even be fully fit for double game week 25. And it's funny how a lot can change in like a week or so, because at this point, let's say before the last game week, we were sitting here thinking of Salah as a potential triple captaincy candidate for game week 25, and now we don't even know whether he'll start both those fixtures.
Yeah, what's really interesting for the deadlines is the game week 24 deadline not overly interesting because it's going to be a single game week, is Man City in the early kickoff, but maybe useful for KDB and Haaland captainers. Remember, City double in 25, and the early kickoff in 25 is Salah versus Brentford. So we will get team leaks on that team. So forget about 24, big man. What about 25? That was a week we were looking at maybe triple captain in Salah. So do you think we'd still all buy him back for that 25? And even if there was a double game week and there was a blank in 26?
I think we will, because if he's starting game week 25, then he becomes a triple captaincy option. And if the triple captain is on the table, then I don't think a lot of people care about the 26 blank.
Yeah. Dean, for you, 25, let's just look ahead to the Man City double, which is Chelsea and Brentford at home, right? So 2 homes versus Chelsea, Brentford, versus, let's assume Liverpool get their double versus Luton. So Liverpool's double would be Brentford away and Luton at home. If Salah's fit, are you captaining Salah or Haaland that week? If Haaland's fit too, let's say best case scenario, they're both
best
fit.
Best case scenarios, yeah. Probably Haaland, to be honest. Like assuming we're getting the full version of Haaland at that point. Like if he comes back and he's like, yeah, I think the 2 homes is too much. Like this is a man that's going to be looking to make up for lost time. This isn't a guy that's going to be easing his way back. This is a guy that's going to be thinking, right, I'm still going to end up top goal scorer in this league, and I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to win us this league. And I would just find it too hard to turn down the idea of having Haaland captain for 2 home games, 3-4 days apart. Like it's just too enticing, and I want to be watching those City games knowing that I'm safe when he bags them. That's exactly how I'd be looking at it. The Liverpool fixtures, they're good fixtures, there's no doubt about it, and any other time I would be probably veering towards the Liverpool side of support, but yeah, I won't. I'll go with Haaland.
That game week, I let us know in the chat what you're thinking, but I think many will look ahead to that game week 25, and I think the smart play here is to look at 25, the team you think you'll have, and almost work backwards. So yes, in an ideal world, what team do you want? But in a realistic world, what team do you think you can have? And big man, when I look at 25, I have no doubt in my mind I'll have 3 City. Whether that's Haaland, Foden and Walker, or Haaland, Foden and De Bruyne, triple City attack could be massive. Let's say I've got triple City. How many Liverpool can I then have? I probably can't have triple City as well as Salah, Trent and Darwin. Maybe it's 2 Liverpool, and maybe I go without a Trent or a Salah for a double, knowing they blank in 26. But what combination of Man City and Liverpool do you think you'll have? Like, I'm going to have 5. I'm going to have 3 City and probably 2 Liverpool.
Yeah, what do you reckon almost certain. Yeah, I think I'm almost certainly going to have Trent from Liverpool. Again, I'll probably have one more, either one of Jota or Darwin, depending on what we hear regarding Salah. At this point in time, I'm assuming that Salah won't be an option because it's looking dicey. Obviously, if Salah is fit, then I'll try and somehow shoehorn him into my team. As far as City is concerned, I think I'll almost definitely have triple City as well. And at this point in time, if I was to guess, it would probably be Walker, Foden and Haaland, because I'm not still fully convinced about De Bruyne. I think Haaland should be fine to start both games in 25. And I also sort of have to take into account the price difference between De Bruyne and Foden and what it does for the rest of your team. It allows for someone like a Trent. So that's the combination I am looking at this point in time. But obviously, lots can change by this time before the deadline next week.
Guys, we'll do a poll in the chat. Do you think you'll own De Bruyne by double game week 25? Yes or no? Because for me, I'm confident of a De Bruyne start versus Burnley. And if I do think he's going to start, and I don't think Haaland is, that's probably will be the trigger for me to bring him in. Because I want to captain a Man City player that's probably not a Foden or an Alvarez. What do you think, big man, with KDB? Do you think he's an option for you? Because I'm not hearing a single content creator saying they're buying KDB, which
I find it unlikely because I'm not convinced about his fitness. And when Foden is almost more than 2 million cheaper, that allows for a lot of savings that you can spend on someone like a Trent or or someone like a Jota or Darwin, it goes a long way. So for me, the difference between Foden and De Bruyne is not that big enough uh, to potentially suggest that I sacrifice spending and upgrading the rest of my team. But again, it might change for the deadline. Who knows? At this point in time, it looks as if Foden is nailed to start in the weeks to come. But who knows? And I'm actually surprised to hear that from you, because you've been a big Foden fanboy on the show.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, it's basically between Foden and De Bruyne, because of course Haaland is more likely to be a given at that point, right? So triple attack is slightly dicey to get to, but for those who can, I think there is a argument for going triple attack, especially with the fixtures that City have coming up.
Yeah, Foden won't be going anywhere for me. So it would be, if KDB comes in, it's to create triple attack. And 50% of the chat looking like they'll be bringing him in, Dean. For me, like I have Foden and I don't have Trent, so I could keep Salah and go Saka to KDB, for example, as an option. Where do you think you'll be on KDB? Because 13th of January he comes out and says I can't play more than 30 minutes, but his game's not till the 31st of Jan. You've got 2-3 weeks after that quote, which everyone's looking at going, he can't start. I think he can start and play 60. I guess we'll know more after the Spurs game on Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. Look, if I was trying to protect my position, I don't think I would be picking De Bruyne. But given where I am, and if I want to like give you guys a fright in our mini league, I'm going to have to do something that's a bit different to what you guys are thinking. And so, to be honest, it probably makes more sense for me chasing a pack to maybe have a bit of a gamble and go on De Bruyne. Like at the moment, I mean, he's 10.5 million. Foden's 8. I've got Foden at the moment. I mean, I've got so much money in the bank at the moment. It's ridiculous. Like, I wish my real bank account had this much money in it, because it's unbelievable. Like how much money I've got to play with. Before I've done anything at the moment, I've got 11.8 million just sat there. So I'm like, Foden at like 7.9. I could take him out. I've still got Son in my team at 9.4 that I could take out. So I could deal with that down the line as well, and open up even more funds for when I need Haaland to come back in for Alvarez. So money's not a problem. And I just love KDB, man. And like I say with Haaland, like I don't want to miss a Haaland haul if he's at home over the course of 2 games. If De Bruyne is about to go on a spree where he brings another title home for Man City, I want to be there from the start. I want to start picking up those points. Foden points will come and go throughout the coming weeks, and no one will end up sticking on Foden because
captaining him.
Yeah. Whereas KDB, I can make the jump now. If you're going to get half hour against Burnley in the second half, like that might be even better. So I think because of my position, because I need to make up some ground, I'll go for it. I think I'll go for bringing in De Bruyne for Foden.
We've had a question from world number 10 or 11, friend of the show, FPL Chai. Big man, I'm going to ask you this one because you own him. Thoughts on keeping Alvarez and not bringing in Haaland versus Burnley? I know this answer is very much dependent on what we see from Man City against Spurs, but let's assume Haaland isn't in the squad against Spurs, but Pep comes out and says he's ready for Burnley, but feature against Burnley. So for me, Haaland's first game back is going to be a 20-minute cameo, just like De Bruyne's was. So if we think we're only getting Haaland for 20, 30 minutes versus Burnley, do we keep Alvarez? Because he's likely the guy that comes off when Haaland comes on. So we're only getting a 60-minute Alvarez, let's say.
I think we're in this funny, tricky position where Alvarez could end up being the optimal captaincy choice this week, or I could even end up selling him, depending on what we hear on Haaland. So it's very difficult to say right now. But as of now, I think I agree with you when you say that City will probably not rush him back, and I don't think he gets minutes against Spurs in the FA Cup, in which case I don't think he will be worth bringing in against Burnley because his minutes won't be high enough. So in that case, I think you could possibly get one more week out of Alvarez, especially considering that KDB isn't fully fit either. So you would imagine that with Haaland and KDB being doubts for minutes, Alvarez would probably play a significant majority of the game. That's sort of where I'm at. And if I had to guess, I think we can probably get another week out of Alvarez. But if Haaland gets minutes against Spurs, then that looks unlikely, because then everything is off the chart, and you just have to bring Haaland in to captain versus Burnley.
Yeah, big man. What about if you don't own Alvarez and you're bringing Haaland in, like me? But many in the chat will be thinking the same. Who's there? Who's leaving their team? Like, I'm not going to sell a Darwin. I don't want to sell a Solanke, really well priced. There's one guy up front that's costing around 9 million that isn't performing necessarily, and that is Ollie Watkins. His XGI amongst forwards in the last 6 is 13th amongst forwards. What's your take on Watkins? And Dean, we're going to ask you next about Saka as well, because Watkins and Saka are the two sacrificial lambs, I think, when we're looking at buying these expensive players. One of the two will go from most teams, I think, in the next couple of weeks. So give us your take on Watkins, big man, and then Dean can do the same on Saka.
I think Watkins is someone who's worth holding. I don't think he's a hard sell, but let's say in your position, if you own someone like a Solanke, Darwin, and Watkins, I just think you have to sell Watkins. I don't think selling Solanke is an option when he's 6 million with a possible double later. I mean, when you look at the underlying data, Watkins and Solanke have more or less similar stats. So why not save the extra cash and lose Watkins instead? So I definitely prefer keeping Solanke over Watkins. And with the upcoming double and the form that he's shown, surely you keep Darwin as well. There's a chance he could be on penalties. So in your position, I think it makes sense to sell Watkins. Let's say if Haaland is back fit at any point. But let's say in my position, if Haaland is back, then Alvarez becomes more of a sell than someone like a Watkins. So in that case, I would keep Watkins and I would sell Alvarez. So again, this is very team dependent.
Yeah. It's almost fortunate. Those have got Alvarez. The recruitment of Haaland is so simple for them. Dean, what about those that have Saka? Because Son and Salah are the two midfielders everyone's selling for obvious reasons. But Saka, whilst he's not flagged, he's also expensive and taking up a valuable spot in our teams if he's not performing. And he's not performing.
He should be flagged. It's out of form. They should bring in a new flag for like premium players that are just off it. I can't believe anyone would stick by him through what we've seen in the last 6 games, to be honest.
He's a shadow of himself. 5 goals and he weren't involved in any of them, like for your wide forward.
Like, lovely. Like, you see him being interviewed even after that game, and he's such a lovely guy. Like, I've got so much time for Saka. But however much I like him, not even a chance he'd be in my team at the moment. 3-point haul from a 5-0 home win against Crystal Palace is not what I would want to be seeing from owning this player. 62% owned Saka at the moment. 9.1 million in his last 6 weeks. 3 points. He got a 7-pointer against Fulham because he scored. 2 points, 1 point, 3 points, 2 points. You wouldn't stick by many other players in this game if they were going through that sort of form. No.
This is why I'm thinking I could even keep Salah, and Saka could become De Bruyne. It feels like a huge upgrade at the moment with the City ceiling. I know Arsenal have scored 5 goals, but City can do that any week. But there's no way Man City score 5 with KDB on the pitch for 90 and him not involved. Like that's an impossible scenario, isn't it?
I mean, it is.
Funnier things have happened.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how unlikely that actually is.
I reckon if anyone in the chat can show us a time when Man City have scored 5 and De Bruyne was on the pitch for 90, I'll eat my hat.
Really? Oh,
I'm sure
if they've scored 6, it doesn't count. It's got to be 5.
He's backtracking already. But no, I take your point. But yeah, look, De Bruyne with barely any form is better than an out of form Saka, because you've got that hope that De Bruyne is the version that we saw come on the other day and like make an impact immediately. At least we get a little bit of time here as well to be convinced of his fitness and stuff, and like that he's definitely coming back. When is it? Just looking up for the deadline for this one. It's next
Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday. Of course it is. Yes, we've got FA Cup fixtures and then the midweek batch of games. So we've got the weekend to even read a bit more into this, which is helpful. Everyone going, Liverpool scored 9.
Yeah, I remember that game so well. Do you remember that
I
one,
captain
big man?
Salah on that one.
Yeah,
I
me
captain
too.
Salah, so of course I do.
Yeah, but that was 9. This only applies for 5, and also that's Salah. This applies to De Bruyne. So
I mean, I
going.
see I sort of see the reference because I mean, a lot of people captain Saka this week, and there's this legit frustration of Arsenal scoring 5 and him not being involved in someone like a Palmer getting a penalty when Chelsea just won 1-0 and outscoring Saka by 7 points. So it's just luck at the end of the day, honestly.
Yeah, captaincy really is.
That's just what it comes down to.
Do you like captaincy in principle, big man? Because we spend so long thinking about our armband each week, almost longer than we do our transfers. And it does come down to a ton of variance, a ton of luck. I always think either captaincy should be 1.5 rather than double points. It should be 1.5 points. So slightly lesser hinders on it. Or keep it at 2, but then your vice should be 1.5. Something just to make that one decision not quite so big a decision. I like the fact that we have the decision, but I don't know. It feels too swingy. I'm bad at captaincy. Like my captaincy.
I am happy with I like the captaincy idea. I don't really mind because it sort of brings more variety in the game, more to discuss. There's a legit argument most weeks especially before Erling Haaland existed. It was more of a debate. But now what I don't like, and I don't think this is popular opinion, is the fact that the triple captaincy is even more swingier. We were speaking about the captaincy being swingy. I mean, one decision should not affect your season, or to an extent where there could be like a 40 or 50 point swing. It's just too much to take, and I personally am not a huge advocate of the variance that the triple captain brings into play. But I guess that's something which FPL wants to bring in for more of the casual managers, so that they can stay engaged for greater parts of the season, and they have a chance of clawing up the ranks if need be.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? It gives everybody hope, and it's so discouraging when you see someone that barely puts any time or effort into their FPL, and they make the right triple captain choice, and they get some huge score, and they close in on you or overtake you, and one, they've put no thought into it. 2, they don't even really care. And you're like, come on, give me something. Like, make fun of me. Do something. Like, don't just sit there and be passive about this, because I wait for moments like this.
Michael says in Scotland, Fantasy Scotland do reward vice captaincy, which is interesting. I've played a game. I don't know. Maybe it was a UEFA
Fantasy
or a FIFA game.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, Fantasy Scotland. Yeah, I don't know many that play it, to be fair. Shout out Nuclear Atoms. Comment of the stream so far. Saka's not a fire to put out, but he is useless. Happy birthday for Sunday as well, Nuclear Atoms. Many happy returns, and thank you all for tuning in today. Make sure you're hitting that like button, and of course subscribe to the channel. But guys, many of you are subscribed. You go, oh, he always says subscribe. Many of you are subscribed without the notification bell, so just hit that bell if you are already subscribed, and you'll know when we go live, because we're doing some strange different times. Like next week, we're streaming on Monday and Tuesday. We still don't know the times for that. So when you hit the bell, you'll be alerted and you won't miss out for the lives. Dean, we should have a look at some teams. We're going to show you your team, my team, Big Man's team, the Chaser team, and then any key topics on those teams. Guys, if you've got questions that are relevant, we'll bring them up and show them. Still lots to discuss around Man City and Liverpool players. We're going to go back to that conversation about Haaland and De Bruyne before the end of the show. So yeah, let's have a look at our teams so far in the last game week.
Yeah, pimp my team. Oh, it's Big Man first.
There we go. 68, Big Man. You got to be happy with that with a captain fail.
Yeah, very happy, especially with the double Arsenal clean sheet coming in clutch. I think that was great. Pedro Porro did well as well. Areola's getting 3 points was kind of expected. He's done his bit in recent weeks, so I was expecting the streak to finally end. You know what pleased me the most was Anthony Gordon's 7-pointer, because that was a bit of a welcome surprise. I wasn't really expecting Gordon to do much against City, but 7 points is way more than I expected. And other than that, the forward line was disappointing, especially Alvarez not doing much. But we take it.
Pedro Porro, so good they named him twice. We used to say the same on English TV about JJ Okocha.
He's gotten the team twice.
Is that a Richarlison spot? You didn't get 6 points, Richarlison, but
it's Richarlison for 8, and Alvarez got 8. 2. He's it's presented as 4 in the image, which is wrong. It's Alvarez with 2 and Richarlison with 8 instead of the Porro in midfield.
What do you make of your Spurs assets? I mean, Richarlison.
I'm very happy to have bought them this week. I think
you reckon you'll have them both in 26 if they blank?
I'll sell at least one of them. I think Porro to Walker is probably a move I will make before 25, and maybe even Richarlison goes by 26. But for this week, I think both are fine at home to Brentford. I think for people who don't have, let's say Alvarez or assuming that Haaland is out, then Richarlison becomes a captaincy option. And I think he's a very good captaincy option this week.
Yeah,
I can see a lot of people going there.
Yeah, Pedro Porro does play in that midfield position quite often. Would you, having watched him in recent weeks, can you really sell him to Walker? Like, I know Spurs could blank in 26. Dean, Pedro Porro is not in our team for clean sheets anyway, so the fixture's kind of irrelevant. He's so good in attack. Should we be worried when Maddison's back, he loses some of the set pieces and therefore isn't as good an FPL asset? But I mean, I can't see myself selling him.
I mean, I guess that is a reasonable shout. But I mean, Porro's still going to be on some of them because his set pieces are literally insane. Like, I can't handle how he can put these balls like on a sixpence. Like, it's unbelievable. Yeah. And he's so good apart from that anyway. I would find it very difficult to part ways with him.
The only reason I would consider selling him is because the Gameweek 26 blank. And if Spurs are likely to blank in Gameweek 29 as well, a lot of us will be wildcarding in Gameweek 30 or 31, which means that from Gameweek 26, in a span of 4 to 5 game weeks, he will play just 2 or 3 fixtures. One of them is Villa away, which isn't great. So I think there's a case to selling him.
You got money tied up in him as well, though, big man, right? Many of us paid 5 million for Porro.
I got him for 5.1 or 2, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But irrespective of that, I just think going for Walker, if Spurs get a double blank, is probably the sensible thing to do. But I mean, there is a chance I might end up selling Saliba instead. Let's see.
Yeah. And you have 2 free transfers?
Unfortunately, I have 1. I've been wanting to have 2 for a while, but that Darwin to Alvarez transfer meant that I only have 1. So I'm kind of hoping that Haaland isn't fit this week so that I'm not forced into a hit.
Yeah.
Because if Haaland is fit, then I simply just have to, sell Salah and upgrade probably Alvarez to Haaland.
And that'd be your plan. Who would you sell Salah for?
I think Salah will go this week. It's almost certainly he will go this week. I think Foden will come in. He's just the obvious pick with the double game week coming up and with Burnley at home. I just think it makes too much sense. I don't think there's too much of a decision to be made with my team this week. I think it kind of picks itself.
Yeah, no, fair enough there. There we go. Oh, Colm says, don't worry, Backer. Spurs won't blank in 26. Gianni, he's winking because Spurs will only blank in 26 if Chelsea don't make the EFL Cup final. Right? So, sorry, if they do make the cup. So we need Chelsea to beat Middlesbrough, and then Chelsea and Spurs, their fixture in 26 will become a blank. It's not a given. It's not a given. Go on.
Yeah, just one thing before we close my team. I think I have a bit of a benching headache this week, and I want to pick your early brains on where you'd go. Because let's assume that I sell Salah for Foden, and if Haaland isn't looking like he'll start, I'll have to play one of... And of course, Trent is likely to be fit as well, right? So I'll have to play one of Saliba, Gordon, or Palmer. Now, Palmer has away, Gordon has Newcastle away, and Saliba has Forest away.
Yep.
So it's...
Who does Gordon have away?
Villa away.
Oh.
Yeah, Villa
away.
Gosh.
Palmer, Liverpool away. Saliba,
I mean, you just can't bench Palmer, can you?
It's tricky, but I mean, the fixture... It's a low ceiling fixture, so I could take the risk, but I don't know. I'm not
He's
sure.
been playing so well. I mean, the chat saying Palmer or Gordon. Personally,
Play Palmer or Gordon or bench Palmer or Gordon?
that's saying bench. I would bench Saliba definitely, but that's not your headache. At the back, you're going to start Trent, Gabriel, and Porro, I think.
Yes, but I could easily play 4-3-3.
You could,
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I have to bench
Forest
one of
will score.
Saliba, Gordon, or Palmer.
Forest will score at home, though.
You think so? Arsenal away are very, very good defensively.
I think I'd bench. Yeah, I think I'd bench Saliba. But then between the attackers, well. Gordon, Palmer, Solanke is a tough one. And Watkins, you could throw his name into the ring just by the way he's been playing. But yeah.
I think I'll play Watkins and who does Solanke have? Solanke is West Ham away, right? But he's on penalty, so I don't think I'll bench him. West Ham, I think Bournemouth are a good team.
Palmer's on pens too, mate.
Yeah, that's fine. But I just think Liverpool away is a tougher fixture than West Ham away. So I'm happy playing Solanke. For me, it's between those three. And yeah, it's going to be a tough decision before the deadline that I have to make. Now that Trent is fit.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, I look forward to chatting to you before the deadline, mate, because we are, I think, likely to be streaming on Tuesday rather than our normal Wednesday show next week. So the deadline is, of course, Tuesday. Guys, we will move on to our next team. Thank you all for your comments. We're reading them all. We can't always show them, but appreciate your support today with the likes and subscribes. Dean on the 59. You're on Kyle Walker and Triple City already, Dean. Nice.
Yeah. Well, yeah, which is why if I do go to get KDB, it will have to be for Foden. Won't leave me any choice, really. I saw a couple of people suggesting other things, but I can't because I've got 3 City in the mix already. Reasonably content generally with what I've got. I'm just going to get the fixtures up actually just to make sure I know who everybody's playing as we look at next week.
Were you tempted by in that Alvarez spot?
Yeah,
you could convert. Like you could keep Foden and let's say, I don't know, Diaby comes KDB and Alvarez, this would mean going without Haaland, but let's say he's not fit. Alvarez could be going someone like Ivan Toney. You spoke about Toney last week and you confirmed it. He's going to score on his return and he absolutely did. The bookies had him at about evens and I nearly put a bet on it. And I was really surprised Paddy Power didn't make the most of Toney's return and give some really good special bet, which they often do. Power price or something.
Yeah, I know a few people that had Toney to score and Toney to be booked, so there was there was a lot of love around that. I mean, he cheated to score, but still, he did score.
That's an okay cheat, though, isn't it? If that happens for your team, you encourage that level of cheat. Just explain what he did.
Well, he moved the ball a yard. If you haven't seen it, like Toney positions the ball, the ref draws his foam around the ball, like that's where you marked. Turns around, walks the wall back as the keeper's positioning his wall, and as the back turns, Toney moves the ball to the side. I don't mind him moving the ball a little bit to the side. I've never seen anyone get some of the foam and then draw a new little line across it.
That was genius.
That is like gamesmanship. But I mean, he's given himself an edge, and somehow, literally nobody spotted it. The keeper's badly positioning his wall anyway. He's having a row with the bloke on the end. The bloke's like, he can get it round there. Keeper's like, yeah, be fine. No, it won't. Especially now he's moved the ball a yard to the right.
I'd drop that Turner for that.
Honestly, that was terrible goalkeeping. Yeah, and obviously because it was at home, like even if you were even if you were behind the goal and you saw what he was doing, it was the Brentford fans that were there, so they weren't going to say anything. If that was away from home, might not have got away with it because it might have been spotted. But half clever, half cheating, whatever it was. But Ivan Toney did get the goal that we knew that he would get. Would you want him as an asset going forward?
Doubles in 25.
Yeah,
hard double, Man City and Liverpool, but he does double, and Brentford do cause big teams problems. It's tough fixtures, but
he's really good, mate. He's really good. And now that he's staying at Brentford for the rest of the season, there's that part of him that's also playing for a move. And I think that gives him even more impetus to go across and score a load of goals. He is tempting, I've got to admit. I'm not a typical Toney owner throughout his time in the Premier League. But I have to admit, when you look at the moment, and you've got Solanke and Watkins, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? Toney is firmly now in my thinking for the coming weeks about what to do. I think I might even end up owning him, to be honest.
Yeah, I think. Oh, big man, what's your take? Like, not someone we might buy now, but come 25, managers get a bit of a rush of blood for those on a double. He's got a fixture in 26 and 29. I think he'll be bought in 25 by a lot of managers.
Yes, exactly. And even though those fixtures aren't exactly great on paper from Brentford from game week 25 onwards, we've seen Toney deliver time and again in the tougher fixtures as well. And as a 90-minute guy on penalties, I think he will do well. And I can see a lot of people jumping from Watkins to Toney as well in that time, especially if Villa are likely to get a blank in game week 29. That's a move that a lot of people will make. And it frees up a lot of money as well, right? It frees up like more than $1 million.
Yeah.
Dean, Watkins and Saka we spoke about earlier. Two I'm thinking many will need to sell. Give me Gordon and Toney and a 4 million in the bank. Like, talk to us about Gordon. Like, Newcastle feel like they're a team that will always score, and he has been their player of the season, right?
He has, yeah. Obviously, Newcastle in this transfer window is suddenly quite an interesting one to be watching, because it feels like everyone's suddenly having a look in, thinking, right, they're looking to sell some players. Who could we get? Whatever happens, they're not going to sell Gordon. So, like, that's one thing to be safe of right now. Trippier, genuinely, there's a possibility he could go, which I think is really interesting. Like, Bayern have definitely turned his head. And if they come calling again, which they're threatening to, he could go,
Will Newcastle replace him? Or will it just be Livramento 4.3 million, by the way?
It would be Livramento. Obviously, they're getting rid of Almiron as well. This opens up the chances for them to go into the transfer market themselves. One of the interesting things about West Ham, how quickly they're signing Calvin Phillips, and
right,
he's having his medical today, I think. Calvin Phillips at West Ham, like they really had the suspicion that Newcastle were going to like get their act together and actually go and just pay Man City the money that they wanted in the first place. So yeah, I get the feeling that Newcastle will also do something in the transfer window, but Gordon's an untouchable. Like, his form's going to be fine. His place in the team is fine. He's not going to be sold. And so I really like him. I'm completely happy that, even Aston Villa away, like, certainly not an easy fixture, but for Gordon, it's a fixture that he can score in. And I'm absolutely comfortable with playing him.
Yeah. Looking good there. And your plans will probably be centered around, Man City assets, Haaland, De Bruyne, as many of ours will.
Yeah.
Okay, we've still got a couple of teams to get through, as well as answering a couple of questions. Mark, good one about West Ham. Ward-Prowse, Phillips, Alvarez, Souček, all in midfield. Well, I mean, Moyes loves Souček, but I would imagine it will be those three: Alvarez, Phillips, and Ward-Prowse, and it will be a 3-man midfield. But
I mean, Moyes is the one that's driven the transfer. Like, he's the one that told the club he wanted Calvin Phillips and to go and get it done. So he's obviously got a plan. Like, this isn't a club signing; this is a Moyes signing.
Nice. 69 for me. Just a 1 point more than Big Man Backer to go with my slightly better overall rank than Big Man Backer. Sorry, May.
Low blow.
But I'm a transfer behind, you could argue, because I have sold Trent. And I've had loads of tweets. Like, fella asked in the chat earlier, are you going to buy Trent back?
Yeah.
Points are there to be had any given game week. So I sold Trent last week, where he got 0 points, and we knew he was going to get 0 points. And Estupiñán got 8. Over the next 2 game weeks, I think Estupiñán will continue to outscore Trent, who's got Chelsea and Arsenal in the next 2. I do think Trent will become a must-have for a double in 25. And 24 fixture is really nice. But I think we can probably hold till 24 to be buying back. So sure, I'd love him in my team, and I'm going to need to use a transfer. I'm okay going without him for a while. I'm hoping Gabriel is fine. I've really got a weak bench with Lascelles and Taylor. I need that defender 4 to be boosted. But at the moment, I'm relying on my 11. And because my 7 attackers outside of Salah are all quite good, I don't have a benching dilemma every week if I keep Salah. So I am considering keeping Salah, because I don't want to sell Salah just to then bench a Palmer, At the moment, money's not an issue, because I could sell Watkins to Haaland. I could go Saka up to De Bruyne, or I could sell Salah for De Bruyne. But let's see. I want to know a little bit more about Man City minutes against Spurs.
I think let's say if Chelsea crash out of the cup, then you'll be tempted to go Salah to Richarlison this week. I think you'll probably do it.
True.
That's
the only
a
thing that puts me off with
transfer.
Richarlison is the blanks. So yeah, you're
Yeah.
right there. Like Richarlison has become a bit of a must. Who do you bench though, then, big man? Then I've got the same dilemma as you. Like it's a Palmer or a Solanke.
In your position, I would be tempted to either go for Eze or Jota. I like both of them, and especially if news isn't positive on Salah, then you can go with Jota. There's nothing wrong with it.
Jota or Kudus are the two I've been thinking about. I
like
don't
Eze
like
as well.
I don't like Eze
like Eze?
as much, just because of Roy. As soon as Hodgson's gone, Eze is going to be a great buy, but things aren't good at Palace. And I looked at Eze or Pascal Gross, and it weren't even a competition for me.
Yeah, last week I think Gross kind of made more sense to buy, but this week with the Sheffield United home fixture, I know the vibes aren't great with Crystal Palace, and they don't usually score a lot of goals. But I mean, if they score anything, it's going to be Eze who's going to be involved. Very very much similar to what you said with KDB, and he's on penalty, so I don't necessarily mind the Eze pick, especially because he's a good fixture in 26 as well, and then he plays. Plays 90 minutes in every fixture, so you can just bench him after this week. You don't really have to hold him. But if the double is happening, then Jota obviously becomes more tempting.
Yeah, Jota's definitely tempting, man. Like I'm really torn what I'm going to do with my move this week. I like Jota and I like KDB. I do think there is a chance if Haaland's not ready for Burnley, which I don't think he will be to start, and I think KDB is going to start, then Salah to KDB or even Saka to KDB. I'm really tempted. It's a real punt. And I'm surprised I'm not hearing many even consider KDB. But that doesn't put me off him.
It's just a case of wait and see for most managers. People want to see him prove that he can play, regular minutes. If he is playing, let's say, back-to-back 70, 75 minutes, then I don't think a lot of people have any issues buying him for Gameweek 25.
Yeah, it's exactly that, isn't it? People want to react to seeing him getting a set of 75 minutes first, rather than buying him for what might be his first set of 60 or 75. It's a tough one. It was interesting, the poll we did earlier, over 50% of the chat do think they will own KDB in 25. I mean, that isn't a given that they will, but they're certainly aiming to. And then I've got the big Trent headache, big man. Like, I need to be wary of funds if I do want to bring KDB back. And if I do hold Salah, like if I sell Salah, I think I'm selling him knowing that there's a slim chance I'll have him for the double in 25, just because I don't have Trent. Most selling Salah will look at it and go, I can bring him back for 24.5.
Yeah, but let's assume we don't hear anything else, and with the info that we have right now, where it looks very unlikely that he'll be fine for Game Week 24, do you hold Salah with the information we have right now, or do you risk him for someone like Jota?
I think I'm still tempted to hold, knowing if I buy Jota for Salah, if I buy someone in the Salah spot, I've then got the benching headache.
And then you can't go back to Salah.
And then I can't go back. So I'm genuinely looking at selling a Saka and not having the benching headache and keeping Salah. My squad's very different to most because they've got a dead spot already, and I don't have a dead spot.
The trouble is, if you end up holding him, and if he isn't fit for Game Week 24, 25, surely you'll sell him closer to the time anyway. No?
True. But yeah, and that is a big concern. Big concern. Dean, by the way, might be back. His Wi-Fi has disappeared.
And let's say if with your current team, you'd rather have Jota than Palmer, surely, this week, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the counter argument. With your team, I'm actually curious to see that I don't necessarily see an obvious captaincy shout this week. I am pretty sure you have it on Foden, if I'm not mistaken.
Foden, unless I buy De Bruyne or Haaland.
Yeah, I think it'll go Foden this week, which is fine, I guess. The fixture's there to be had, and he's sort of served you well in the past, so why not go there again? Because I can see plenty of diversity. If Haaland is out, there will be plenty of diversity in the captaincy options this week. I mentioned Alvarez being a choice. Richarlison will probably be second highest, I think, among the engaged managers, and probably third will be Foden. Saka would have been an option had he done done anything substantial this weekend, but I doubt anyone would go there now. Even though,
I think for many, you're right. Alvarez is an option, but if we think Haaland's going to get 20, no one will want to go Alvarez because straight away they just go, "Oh, I've got an hour. I've got an hour." And
I still think I'd go there. No problem, because
even if you own Foden, because you might buy Foden, you'll go Foden over Alvarez.
Yes.
Captain.
No,
right?
I'd probably go Alvarez over Foden because
you?
of the penalties, and because the fact that even if Haaland is, let's say, fit, and if we suspect that he's going to get 20 or 30 minutes, then I think there's every chance that De Bruyne comes off for Haaland. Like, why not? Right?
Yeah,
it could happen. And let's say there's no. What I'm trying to say is there's no guarantee that if Haaland comes on, Alvarez doesn't go into the 10, and Foden doesn't come off for Haaland. That could happen as well.
It could.
So it's all very random. That's just what I'm trying to say.
I still think Foden over Alvarez for captaincy, though. I still think the chances of 90 minutes we know are much higher for Foden if Haaland, say, benched. But also, and yeah, you're right, penalties. But we're talking about a team that gets a penalty, once every 5, 6, 7 games? And if you just go off form, Foden gets the extra point for a goal. He gets the clean sheet point. And I think they're about as likely as each other to score at the moment.
Yes, but that extra point and extra point for goal and clean sheet is sort of nullified by penalties and free kicks. So that's
so if
the
it is,
thing.
then it's a 50-50, isn't it?
It is a 50-50, exactly. And we might end up in a situation where, let's say, both KDB and Haaland are expected to play around 20 to 30 minutes, in which case it's tricky. In that case, I might just go Richarlison, to be very honest.
Yeah, you'll get 90 or close to.
I mean, you know what you're getting there, right?
Is Pedro Porro a shout?
No, I'm not going to go there. There's no point even discussing something I'm not considering.
I haven't captained a defender ever. I don't.
Brentford will score. Brentford will score.
Yeah, they will score. They will score. You're right.
I'm very confident that the Brentford will score. So the ceiling isn't quite there. With your team, I think Foden is the realistic option.
Yeah.
And if not Foden,
if I buy KDB though, it will be to captain him. That's a fact. If I buy him.
Exactly. So it's sort of tricky. I mean, you could even captain someone like Watkins or Darwin. They're fine.
I had looked and thought, oh, can I really go down? I don't think I've ever captained a player against Chelsea. But tempting.
It's tricky. It's tricky. I mean, this is what makes this game sort of fun now that, with no premium really in the equation. A lot of people will be just jumping on mid-price assets of their choice. Like, it was very similar to the case last week, and I think it might be the case this week as well, where we'll see plenty of diversity in the captaincy options.
Yeah, it's annoying that Man City play on the Wednesday because the Tuesday team leak. So I mean, there's 5 fixtures on the Tuesday night, and annoyingly, they're the worst 5 fixtures for FPL. I mean, Arsenal are in there, meh. Brighton are in there, Aston Villa are in there, Newcastle are. But in terms of like the big juicy ones for captaincy, to hear about Haaland or a De Bruyne starting, or just to confirm the Liverpool lineup or the Spurs lineup, these guys all play Wednesday, which is frustrating.
Exactly, and I guess we might hear something from FPL Toney on the City guys, but it's a bit of a stretch considering that it's 24 hours before the deadline.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think last time it was 24 hours before the deadline. He didn't have anything for us, which he had hoped he would. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you fancy hitting that like button and subscribing, it's good to see Dean is in the chat. I'm sure he's happy to contribute to any conversation. So if you've got a question for Dean, do let him know in the chat. His internet's gone, but he's on 4G on his phone. So he's got enough bandwidth to add to the chat. And he's boosting our algorithm with all his comments. So thank you, mate. Let's have a look at the Chaser team. Chaser team has been a car crash this season. 80 points. Okay, I ate my words.
It's been much better than a car crash, dude. Come on. We'll
take 80.
Emi Martinez on the bench. Emi Martinez 9-pointer on the bench, which was, I mean, it was the fine thing to do. Playing Areola over Martinez, just unlucky. The rest did really well. I mean, Branthwaite was a great.
Do you know what? Darwin was close for captaincy. That Saka Darwin punt was something like 2% in it, and they went Saka.
Yeah. I mean, this team looks fine honestly, at this point in time. And I assume we have enough cash to get Haaland back as well in one move because of the Garnacho pick.
Yeah, I
Right?
think so. I think that's exactly
Yeah.
what it is. And yeah, no Man City in this team yet. So I think the next few moves are all going to be towards Man City. That's a pretty
Exactly.
nice car crash, Tom. Yeah. Not till I tell you the overall rank, though, Tom. But yeah, look, we're on a new curve, a new trajectory.
Is it over
here.
$1 million? Is it over $1 million?
Oh, it's definitely over $1 million. I'll see if the producer can let us know. I think it's probably more like 2 million.
Very unfortunate, but
bad.
let's hope we can pick up some steam in the weeks to come with the double game weeks.
Yeah, exactly. CH, you're quite right. We will take that car crash. I'm gonna have to check the overall rank, aren't I? Because I can't let you guys leave without seeing the.
I think
the
Salah
chaser
to
team.
focus is the likely move this week.
Salah to Foden would make sense.
You just bench Gordon or Garnacho.
I'm seeing if I can see the overall. Oh, the overall rank. Here we go. Oh, guys, what do you reckon in the chat? Let's have some guesses for where this is at in overall rank. I'll give you a clue. It's over $1 million. We'll show some guesses before the end of the show. CH is 3 million. It's not that bad. Big Ed either. It's not 3 million. It's not 5 million. It's not 2.3. It's 1.6. To be fair, there's hope.
Yeah, exactly. It's not too bad. I mean, with double game weeks to come, I'm sure we can find a way to get a respectable rank for this team.
Exactly. Geddy and Pete 1.5. Good guesses. I think with all chips in hand, what's a realistic expectation, big man? If you are ranked 1.6 million, but you're watching now with all your chips, you could still finish with some good strategy around chips. Top 500k is very achievable.
Right? Very achievable. Very achievable. I was going to say top 200k even.
Yeah.
You just need a bit of luck to go your way.
How's the season going for you in terms of where your rank is now? You must be around 100k. I think you mentioned earlier.
I'm 105, 106k at the moment.
That's good though, isn't it? For this point of the season, with what's to play for and doubles, we're looking at it this year going, I think this is way better than last season, for example, in terms of where the majority of content creators are and what a realistic expectation is. That top 10k is achievable this year if you're at 100k now.
Exactly, and it's sort of strange because the start of the season was terrible. I mean, I had double United for ages, and they just haunted me for Bruno and Rashford for like game week 1 till game week 8 or 9. It was completely terrible. And since I wildcarded in 10, Johnny, I have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I've had 14 green arrows in 15 weeks.
Yeah. So very good sort of, last couple
just
of
one
months.
Red. So just one red since the game week 10 wildcard.
Yeah. Do you know what? The wildcard being played around that 8 to 10 window, as many did, jumping back on Salah, that was huge. And that was a big marker for our seasons to have good ranks at this point. I think the wildcard was played at absolutely the right time for many.
Cole Palmer has been a savior. I've just jumped on him at the right time, and I got him in at 4.8 or 9, and he's literally just saved my season. He's been delivering points consistently week in, week out. Even Gabriel has done really well in that spell. Yeah, lots of good decisions basically in that spell. So I'm happy with where I'm at right now. This has been a good season. I've enjoyed where I'm at. Hopefully I can make some more progress in the weeks to come, because generally I tend to do better in the second half of the season with the chip strategy and when the doubles and blanks come into play.
Looking forward to chatting about chips and transfers in on Tuesday's show with Big Man. So make sure you tune in for that ahead of the deadline. The chip strategy and transfers for the Chaser team will be determined by you lot in the chat. I can see CH mentioning we need some organic generation from the chat, but Bill rightly mentioning, how the hell are the Chasers going to agree on a strategy? I mean, that is going to be one chaotic poll. So I'm sorry, team, but you might need me steering you in one direction or another, but I promise I'll try and keep my trap shut. Guys, thank you. Yeah, maybe we do the groundwork on Twitter before, as CH mentioned, series of polls, suggestions for the live. I'll be well up for that. So I'll pass that on to the production team, CH. Cool. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. If you're just tuning in, go and watch the last hour. Shout out FPL Chai, world number 10 or 11 in the chat. And yeah, we will be back possibly at the end of the week, possibly early next, definitely early next. So make sure when you subscribe, hit the notification bell. Any final thoughts from you, big man?
Not really. I just hope there's no more fires to put out in my team. There's still a lot of football to be played, lots of games at the weekend, and it could influence our decisions actually before the deadline, because we will get a fair idea of who is blanking, who is doubling in the weeks to come. So that will dictate a lot of our moves going forward, and there'll be plenty to discuss in the next episode.
Yeah, I think that Friday night of Man City Spurs, Chelsea Aston Villa, that's going to be absolutely huge, those two fixtures. Looking forward to that. Guys, thank you so much for watching. He's been Big Man. He's been Dean Jones in the chat and with us in spirit as always. And I've been Jamie Batici. We've all, including you lot, have been chasing green arrows. See you later.